Okay, so for all you listeners out there, we've got a competition running at the moment where we want you to hit us up on Twitter and suggest your Simpsons episodes that you want us to review.
What's that Twitter handle there, Elliot J. O'Neill?
That would be at Simpsons Index.
What was that again?
At Simpsons Index.
Thanks, Elliot J. O'Neill.
Did you hear it last time?
Let's run it one more time.
At Simpsons Index.
You can win a bunch of stuff.
Win a bunch of stuff.
Cool stuff.
Stuff you love.
Surprisingly, not Simpson stuff.
Yeah, there's no Simpsons stuff, I'm sorry.
Sorry, we don't have that.
We hoard that all for ourselves.
For ourselves.
If we pick your episode on our January 10th episode, you will win the box of merch. All right, so hit us up there. Thank you for listening, and here is the Simpsons Index.
Do it.
The Simpsons Index, an online spreadsheet that is also a podcast. This is the podcast. We just watched season 16, episode 13, Mobile Homer. BT, what did you think?
It's all right.
Yeah?
I'd like to preface this by saying, listeners, if you hear any slurring in my speech, that is from being drunk, not from an audio problem.
Woohoo! Daytime drinking!
Woo!
So, yeah, okay. I've got less of an opinion of this than you do, man. I did not like this at all.
Oh, really?
Well, at all a strong word.
Did you want to throw a brick at your TV?
I do anyway, because it's a piece of shit with bad
It's fine!
tracking.
What is your problem with your damn TV?
If you want this fucking TV, you can
What
have
is wrong
it.
with it? What is wrong with it?
It's got bad tracking.
I don't even know what that means.
It means that it's not as smooth as...
Ooh, look at me, my TV isn't as smooth as it could be.
It gets a bit jaggy, and also it doesn't have the proper connections with my sound system, so yeah, I need something that has more of a crystal picture.
Man, when I grew up, we were all happy with a cathode ray tube that was maybe 4 inches square, and we were damn fine to play multiplayer, 4-player, split screen, GoldenEye on that fucker.
So anyway, this episode sort of doesn't actually get into its plot until Act 2, but essentially it's Homer spends the life savings on an RV, and it produces problems with him and Marge.
Yeah, it's one of those ones where, yeah, you're it's because I wouldn't call it doesn't kick off till Act 2, because technically by the way plots work, you can't have an Act 2 plot start.
Yeah.
But it's
right?
more, yeah, until ad breaks too is probably it's the weird thing where you have ad breaks and then you have plot points, and I think a lot of the good ones, not necessarily a lot of them, but they do follow acts as ad breaks. I always come back to a Homer at Bat as being just quintessentially perfect for fitting that format just so well.
Yeah, and an episode which I read some notes on like Wikipedia or whatever recently. A lot of the cast members and staff didn't like it.
Really?
Which is weird, because we
love the shit out of that one.
Unquestionable QC from
that's
us.
one of the ones that I hold in highest regard. Flawless victory. It is amazing.
But especially Yardley Smith, who in an interview was quoted, sorry, I'm paraphrasing, as saying that, yeah, she didn't like it because it wasn't The Simpsons. It was the guest stars. And... like, it had nothing to do with The Simpsons, and like...
There's always the thing, this is someone who is in the show as it's happening, reflecting on the episode, whereas we are people reflecting back, knowing where they'll go with guest stars, knowing...
Yeah.
Even then,
and I guess for season 3, it was probably a bit of a departure from the format.
And also for us, we don't know who any of these ball players are.
Yeah.
Like, and yet we love that episode.
Loved the shit out of it.
I know, it's so good. So yeah, for us, there's no star factor because we do not know who the fuck any of these people are.
But yeah, going back to what you were saying about how the acts unroll with that episode, it is so perfect.
It is, yeah. Ad break 1 happens and you finished episode 1. You come straight into Act 1, and then you come into Act 2 once you get. It's beautiful like that. This one, yeah, you're right. It until you get into after the first ad break, you don't really have a sense of where this is going. It's just kind of like a lot of the latter day seasons. It just kind of floats around for a while, and you're just like, where are we landing? And you're trying to pick up plot threads from the beginning, which usually have nothing to do with anything else. I have very few notes on this one.
Well, yeah, so it starts out with Marge and Maggie and Bart and Lisa out on a Sunday drive. The kids aren't enjoying it,
Marge
Bart's
is loving
bored
it because, of course, she is.
Yeah, and, what do you say, Krusty? I don't perform on weekends. That was shit. I didn't like that.
It was close to being okay, but it didn't work. Yeah, and then Homer's cleaning out the garage. And
well, okay, going to that, where she has that fantasy about Homer.
No, that was where I was going next, is just this fantasy of Homer being muscular and having dropped 50 pounds and sparkled everything to a shine. It's like, that is so depressing. She's like...
that's what she wants?
I think that's what she pitches. As in, I think she's delusional about her own life at that point. It's so sad. It's it's quietly morbid as fuck.
Well, it does bleed into this episode's all-round feeling of, because the whole thing, Marge and Homer are on the rocks for the second and third act.
Yeah.
And, really, it's an uneasy feeling with them. And... there's not even good material mined out of it to justify how split they are.
They've done a lot of Homer and Marge on the rocks things. Yeah. I will say the argument for this one feels a lot more realistic because there's a great argument where Homer's like, I earn all the money, why can't I do what I want? And she's like, sure. I pay the bills, I'm the one who's responsible with what you earn, so shut up and do what I say. I think that's a very realistic argument of... yeah. The homemaker is essentially looking after the home, whereas the breadwinner is simply making the money to do that. Yeah. I think that's very real and very cool. I enjoy that realism to it, which is a weird thing to say, talking about Simpsons while you're drunk. But
no, but I mean, it is a good thing because, from a point of view, there are no winners in that situation.
Yeah, and there's no one who's strictly completely wrong because it's like... you work hard and you bring home the money and here's this person telling you what you can and can't do. But from the other side of the perspective, someone else is bringing home money that then you have to manage. And when you say, we have to manage it this way and they defy you, that's bullshit. And
especially, and from Marge's angle as well, when they don't actually work that hard at their job and... they spend an hour Googling themselves and, another hour just sitting on the toilet there is a potential for much better material to be mined from here that they just really didn't do with this one.
Yeah, I enjoy the realistic grounding because there's so many Simpsons episodes where they spend a shit ton of money and get into a shit ton of debt, but that means nothing. Yeah. Or alternatively, are in a massive load of debt to begin with, but then that goes away. I enjoy the realism of that relationship of... like I said, breadwinner versus the one who actually understands how this all works.
Well, just again, going back to the start, I did actually like the Homer cleaning up his garage gag.
Fighting spiders, yeah.
Yeah, fighting spiders, because, it's such a small, squashable insect that, of course, Homer is losing a battle with.
For international listeners, especially those in California where we're popular, apparently.
Yeah.
We live in Australia where fighting a spider is a goddamn contest. I've killed...
a daily ritual.
I've killed spiders with fucking baseball bats. A, because that was the biggest solid object towards me, and B, because they were big enough to need it.
You see those slippers over there? They have seen more dead spiders than they have my feet.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Those slippers over there, and I am actually pointing at slippers for the audience, and I'm being completely serious.
He's not lying to you right now.
They are for deadly spiders, cockroaches, and keeping the King of England out of my face.
Oh, yeah, which you got to do. Otherwise, he's all up on that shit.
Like a few of the gags, Charlotte's dead, the name of the poison, and spider poison is people poison?
Yeah, I do.
It's silly.
I hate the bit where Marge comes home and Bart says to Lisa, you can open that envelope I gave you now, and it's a drawing of Homer pinned under the garage door exactly as he is now. I like that because it kind of calls back to Bart's shinin.
Yeah, that he is some sort of savant.
Yeah.
And
which is not canon because it's a Halloween episode, but
just the idea of Bart being this. He's not intellectual. He is
little
a bit dumb.
Omen, a little bit shinin.
Yeah.
I like that. It's something I want to do to people in real life.
And be right.
Yeah, exactly. But a heavy little envelope going, in a year you should open this.
Yeah.
But I don't want to say it then.
So anyway, that all happens. The envelope. Yeah, sorry. That all happens. Lisa does CPR and Bart doing chest compressions.
Is like an elbow drop.
Yeah, with like all the wrestling moves and then grabbing the folding chair. I liked all that. And this is where the episode starts coming undone for me and where I start running out of things that I like about it.
Yeah.
Where they try to get Homer insured. No, sorry. this is where the episode starts coming undone with me, where Homer's all delirious and stuff after the accident, and Marge is like, oh, homie, what are we doing? He's still, like, talking in tongues, and then all of a sudden, snaps out of it, and then he's like, well, I'm going to hold a card game for Lenny and Mo, and, comes up with rules that I wrote down in my head.
And yeah, it's that over-explainer joke.
Yeah.
Like, it's very simple. If you have to explain it, it's not a joke.
And also that it didn't, like, seamlessly transition from the previous thing of him being delirious and, like, babbling incoherently.
I will say my bigger issue is going from, homie, what happens if you die, that kind of concern, to being this split between Homer and Marge.
Well, there is a semi-natural progression to it.
There is semi-natural. I don't know how to... It's one of those ones that, as I was speaking that criticism, I don't know if I feel it's valid. I will say, I do like, and again, weird continuity, go later season writers. Merry Widow Insurance first comes up when they're doing Homer's triple bypass.
Really?
They have that great little neon sign gag of a grieving widow who's then dancing on the grave with dollar signs over her head. But then it falls flat for me when they're trying to get insured, and the insurance guy, the insurance nagel, is shredding the form, deciding the Simpsons aren't worth insuring, and then Homer's like, no, it's valid if I sign it, and he tries to sign it, and then his hand gets caught in the shredder and he's bleeding. Is a far, far cry from that fantastic first part where he's like, tries to sign it, he's like, I wrote an H, it sort of looks like an X.
Yeah.
Can I have a calendar? Okay.
It's a weird thing with Simpsons where, like, I compare, like, my opinions of, I feel sometimes conservative when I'm giving opinions about The Simpsons because, The Simpsons wouldn't do such a bloody joke, but on the contrary, I love South Park. I love everything about South Park.
But there's a tone to those shows.
Exactly.
And that's what a lot of the mid-season Simpsons in the Dark Ages, as I refer to it, betray completely.
The movie seasons are especially the Dark Ages.
Yeah, when someone just was like, we'll just do this. And it's like, no, that's fucking terrible.
But yeah, so for The Simpsons, I feel like even showing the blood there, and especially because it went on for a little bit, like maybe 6 or 7 seconds or something, that you saw Homer's hand being shredded and blood coming out, and you're like, shit, is he losing fingers? Pulls it out, just has a few grazes. So in that context, I think it would have been even funnier if the blood wasn't there. Like, if he was just getting caught in the shredder and, maybe a bit of blood spilled into the
because Simpsons walks that weird line between realism and complete toonism.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I have the wackiness question.
Well, and that's, I mean, Homer falls down Springfield Gorge and just goes, out, dope, He doesn't, like, there's no contusions, there's no blood spurting from his head.
Yeah, you don't see blood splatter, no.
Which is kind of that weird thing. I mean, are these people immortal or are they not? Whereas, it's that balance between Bugs Bunny and something fully realistic like King of the Hill or something.
Sure, yeah.
So it's always been a bit kind of the damage is what we say it is. But even then, there are certain characters can get hurt and certain characters can't. Homer cannot be permanently physically disfigured.
Yeah.
Maud Flanders can fall off a stadium and die.
Yeah. And yeah, like the whole presence of blood sort of thing, it took away from the joke for me.
It grounds it more into they can be hurt.
Yeah. So anyway, he gets stamped with that uninsurable thing and whatever. So then, okay, this is how we get to the next part of the plot, is Marge is watching a Lifetime movie about a woman who went from rich to rags, and, I did not like any material that came out of this Lifetime movie thing, and it went on for about 2 minutes.
Yeah, it really did. I have mixed, mostly bad feelings about the line of, it's based on a story. A true story. No, actually, I hate it.
I'm total groans about that, because maybe in concept it's funny, but in delivery it was so laboured.
As a personal affront, on my tombstone, I want to say B.T. Calloway, based on a story.
That's a pretty good etching, man.
Yeah, no specification of true or not, based on a story.
But, okay, so Marge gets all paranoid from this movie and she starts penny pinching, and I loved everything about the Budgetos gag.
Yeah.
I love...
No, I agree as well.
I wish I wrote down the tagline for it. what was it?
Great frugal taste.
Yeah. And the
I got
whole
your back,
thing
man.
that looked like a discount Krusty on the box, and that you had to assemble it yourself, and it came out like those models where you have to
pop
punch out.
Yeah, I do. That is hilarious.
And then later with Homer has the whole thing in his mouth. I think everything about Budgetos was great.
Yep. Put that up with the IRS burger is one of the better food gags ever.
Absolutely. And then, so there's a couple of scenes with Marge being frugal where Bart and Lisa are wearing like shirts they got from Salvos or something, whatever the American equivalent of that is. And Bart had one that said like EPA now.
Yeah, I looked that up on Googling on the Simpsons index.
Googling.
I mean, I wrote lines there. All I came up with excellence in research for Australia was the first hit. So it's that.
Oh, it was ERA, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yep. So it's either Energy Resources of Australia, Excellence in Research for Australia, or something about the Australian Research Council. Basically, obviously, it's referencing Australia, because what else could it possibly be?
Well, look, whenever I'll remember, I'll do corrections on the Simpsons index. And also, that made me remember. So when we did Homer's Odyssey, that season 1 episode that I'm not too fond of.
Oh, yeah?
Did you know that's not Harry Shearer playing Mr. Burns?
What? Wait, which episode is this?
That's the one where Homer goes to kill himself and then he starts making a bunch of signs and...
What? Who's... Because... I mean, from memory, that Mr. Burns is on point, but maybe I'm remembering.
Well, no, this guy, Charlie something, was the original voice of Mr. Burns, and he was difficult to work with, so they sacked him, and then Harry Shearer basically did the exact same voice.
Well, props Harry Shearer, because
Yeah.
I don't remember watching the episode and thinking that sounds different.
Right?
And again, Mr. Burns is one of my all-time favorite characters. He's a...
And yeah, Harry Shearer based it off that voice that
the other dude did. Wow.
This other difficult to work with actor did, and
Well,
you know,
there you
it's a classic. Fuck it, this show's going nowhere sort of stories.
Yeah. Well, I mean, take that, everyone listening to us in Hollywood, California at the moment,
Yeah,
where we get the most downloads. Shut up and do your job.
yeah, right. Baffling. Anyway, so yeah, they do the shirts gag, and then there's the gag with Homer bringing the thermos of beer to Moe's, and I didn't like anything out of that.
Nope.
And then so Homer comes home and then has an argument with Marge, because after 3 scenes of jokes, Marge's penny pinching has gone too far. And it felt like announcing the plot to me.
Which it was, and again, I don't mind that as a plot point.
Yeah, and then Marge laying down the law, you really felt the emotion with it, and she was bringing in a good mix of sort of gags and heartfelt coming down, bringing the foot
At this point,
down.
we've watched enough Simpsons to know that, yes, she is probably the one who's balancing all the bullshit versus the income, so understandably, she gets pissed off about that. It's just, we didn't go anywhere fun from there.
No.
After they argue, there is a quick little slamming montage, as I've written it, where like Marge slams the house door, so Homer slams the windows of his RV.
Oh yeah, so this is after he buys the RV, but before that is where the change jar is talking, and I got really excited because like you were telling me about Andrew Jackson and what a nutcase this guy was, and they have this gag where all the notes in the change jar are talking to him, and like Ben Franklin and George Washington and Andrew Jackson are talking to him like, they're going to do an Andrew Jackson's crazy joke. And they didn't. He was drunk, if anything. So yeah, Homer goes and impulsively buys the RV. And I like the joke that, you spent our life savings on an RV? No, I spent our life savings on a down payment for an RV.
Just a quick interjection. Elliot and I were willing to work on a musical based on Andrew Jackson's life, similar to Hamilton, but based on metal rather than hip-hop.
Yeah. I am Andrew Jackson.
I will do this for free out of boredom. Just pay my rent for 2 months.
Also, maybe one on Edmund Barton as well. He was a fucking hardcore racist. Like America, I envy you that like George Washington is like somewhat noble for your first president.
Well,
our first prime minister was a cunt and a half.
I mean, you have to research it, but you get a degree of hero worship for George Washington.
What just updated?
He didn't knock down a cherry tree.
So yeah, okay. Homer gets the RV fighting with Marge.
Well, then they pretty much just Homer gets an RV. They argue.
Yeah.
The kids take the RV back to the dealership to try and stop the arguing.
So before that, Homer's explaining to the kids that Marge and him are on the break, and I don't like this because this has happened in other episodes where Homer explains to Bart and Lisa that him and Marge are on the rocks, and Bart and Lisa seem more than okay with it, and they start laughing and instantly cracking jokes, and there's no moment of kids feeling, sad about the idea that their parents are splitting up or anything. At
this point, earlier you could have been upset about it, but at this point it feels like you should kind of either be used to it or at least acknowledge that it's happened before launching it to another point. I mean, they've got that whole, every time I worry about mom and dad, I add an extra ball of yarn to the ball upstairs.
Yeah. And this didn't really have a moment like that.
Yeah, or... the significantly better. Right now, your mother and I know a sticky, nutty, chewy. Put it away, boy.
Put it away, boy.
I do like they take agency in this one.
Yeah.
They say, you guys are going to argue, we're going to take away the problem for your arguing, and then everything will be fine. Which is, again, a very child's idea of how to fix the problem. They argue because this RV is here, take away the RV, no problem.
But what I didn't like is that wasn't actually the cause of the problem. No. The cause of the problem was Marge's penny pinching and not having a dialogue open to...
You and I know that, but as kids, they would think...
Yeah, I suppose.
The RV caused that problem.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, there were a few weirdly bad jokes. Homer is pumping his exhaust fumes into Flanders, and there's this weird Jesus joke where he's like... Now you just go to sleep, Nettie.
Yeah, which I liked, but then they cut to Jesus sinister, menacing, rubbing his hands and sort of music underneath.
It's weird.
And then when he's filling up at the gas station, I like the idea that when the gas ticked over from $9.99 it went to $0, and he was like, "Woo, free gas!"
Yep.
But I didn't like the whole him meeting the other RV people and like, haha, we use jokes to mask the death of our son. Like that just. I don't know. It was grim.
It was grim. It wasn't so much to pull me out of it. It was just odd.
And then the regional beer joke, and then the tell him you're at a Buzzgate concert. Terrible jokes.
I have so few notes from here on out.
Yeah.
Because there's stuff that happens.
And in theory, I like the idea of the RV owner mistaking the Simpsons house for an RV.
Actual RV, yeah.
But I don't think they executed it well.
It's good enough.
And the Everywhere Man, I liked it because it listed off all those Springfield locations. Shelbyville, East Springfield,
North Ogdenville,
Haverbrook, all that. So anyway, Marge pulls the power off, and then as quickly as this scene started, it ends with everybody leaving. And then Homer seriously cunts out here. He just fucking...
So, can we stop and appreciate the term cunts out?
This, what he does here is just so cunty that I've got no other explanation or words for it.
I don't remember. Remind us all.
Where he's just fighting with Marge over the whole thing, and he's just saying not even good jokes, and then does the impression of her and all this stuff, and the kids are blocking their ears to escape the fighting. Man, it just felt so uncomfortable, and the jokes, they were trying to shoehorn them into it, but you didn't feel it. You just didn't.
It's one of those things where if you think about it for more than a second, it gets really sad.
Oh, and especially with Homer, what about my womanly needs? It's just such a dumb line, and it doesn't work. So anyway, getting into Act 3, and we're almost done with this. So nice bit of continuity, Bob's RV.
Yep, I do appreciate they have the same character model. I'm pretty sure the same voice of the RV guy.
Yep.
That's about it.
And a bad gag with... So Bart and Lisa have taken the RV. They're trying to get the refund for it or something, and they're following a Flintstones map that Homer had. Dole.
Wow.
So derpy. And I liked the SUV gags where Marge was like, "I can't see past the SUVs," and then Homer's like, "It's okay, we're coming up to a gentle corner," and then they all roll.
Yeah. because I have a quiet grudge against any motherfucker who thinks they need an SUV in the city. There is not going to be a rainforest suddenly pop in front of you, you motherfuckers. If you want to drive a people mover, get a goddamn Tarago.
Yeah, you have to ascend many mountains taking your kids to soccer.
Really? Do you? Do you? You motherfucker. If you're going to fucking drive one, learn how to fucking drive one. My only note in third act is fuck you SUVs, so...
Yeah. I sort of liked some of the material of Bart and Homer yelling between the cars, and then the Frenching thing and Marge taking, authority. Just come here and kiss me. But yeah, most of it fell flat for me.
Yep.
And then, okay, so getting into the tail end of the episode, somehow the kids in the RV end up on a boat, a Turkish boat, filled with Season 1 Northern Exposure DVDs.
Naturally.
And then...
So Northern Exposure hasn't been on the air since like 1998.
Yeah. I'm guessing that's a joke to do with that. Turkey, get DVDs late or something.
Turkey. It's not like they fund a lot of the pirate DVDs we then watch.
So what we were saying with the Simpsons Go to Cuba episode the other week is they just wrote everything they knew about a country on a whiteboard and inserted it into the episode.
Yep.
I feel like this was like, okay, let's do a Simpsons Go to Turkey. We've only got enough for like an end bumper here.
Not even that. It's like, where's this boat going? Turkey. Well, let's talk about some turkey stuff.
So, yeah.
They sound like a food.
They mention how they're Coptic Christians, and Lisa's jamming on Turkish instruments while Bart plays soccer. And
Wait, does that happen? I wasn't even paying attention at that point. How drunk was I?
Very. And do you remember the captain calling Marge a Lebanese prostitute?
No.
There you go. And so, naturally, Homer destroys the RV, it drowns, and then Bob floats by on his gorilla thing saying, haha, water damage isn't covered by insurance. I win. It was so bad, and then it all ends with the Turkish people going, we put some hashish in Marge's food. And yeah.
Yeah, whatever.
It lamed its way to the end.
That's a phenomenal way to phrase it. It lamed its way there.
It lamed its way through all the plot points.
Yeah.
Like, for all the few gags that I'm saying, like, I enjoyed, I actually tend not to write down all the stuff that I don't enjoy. Like, if I really fucking hate it. Like,
it's because you're a fond critic, whereas you nicely parallel me, who hates everything and everyone in this world.
So, it is time for the questionnaire.
Join the dark side.
So it was just an A through line, just with offshoot sort of thing.
Yeah, which normally I really like, but in this it just felt pointless.
If you could put it in a playlist, what theme? Also, you have the option not to.
Homer Marge arguments, and also not.
Also not, yeah. I tend to agree, yeah. Homer Marge fights that you don't want to watch. Did this feel like an episode of The Simpsons?
Again, just barely scraping in yes. Because again, no one's off point.
Maybe it's just that I don't like to see Homer and Marge fighting because it was done in such a bad, jokey way.
Yeah, but again, they have good reason to fight.
Yeah, they do.
It's one of those, again, begrudgingly, it just skirts in for me because their argument is legitimate. They didn't do anything good with that legitimate argument, but their point was fair.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, okay.
I mean, don't let me influence you, Elliot Joni. Obey Hypnotoad.
Well, I'm only skirting below the line because I just didn't like how Homer acted. Because, yeah, he totally cunted out twice in this episode.
You're popping out cunted a bunch. Not opposed.
Have you seen this one before?
I know I have, because I know I've seen the Bart envelope shining bit.
Yeah.
But the rest of it, I don't remember at all.
Yeah, so maybe it's one you saw before on Fox Hill and then tuned out.
Yep.
So, yeah, for this one, I think I've seen it about 3 times because... Yes, season 16, we're well within the movie seasons, which is seasons 15 to 18, where the staff are distracted by working on the movie. And as a result, you have a serious dip in the late teens that comes back again a little bit in seasons 19 to about 22, I say, and then they dip again. Wackiness!
It's close to being completely non-wacky in the sense that the argument, the main conflict, is very real.
Yeah, and even like the wacky moments with like the car driving, the end car chase scene sort of thing.
It's stuff like Lisa being able to reach the accelerator but not the brake.
Yeah. But, I mean, so in a good episode, you would have earned this moment, but it didn't earn this wackiness.
No, it didn't.
And the heart, I don't feel like the heart was ever earned. I thought, it was more Homer and Marge announcing the plot points than it ever was.
It's staple heart. It's where you just pin it on. And it's like, I don't feel shit about this.
Shit.
Yes.
Yes or no? Would you watch this episode again?
No.
No. So let's rank this thing. I will kick it off now, and I'm straight out giving it a failure.
Wow.
For the parts that I did like were heavily weighed out by the fact that I didn't feel the heart from the Marge and Homer conflict, that I more thought it was Homer being a cunt and Marge being irrational. So I didn't like it.
Yeah.
At all. And I do not want to watch this again, and even, the parts that I said I enjoyed, I don't think it deserves a higher ranking than failure. Go for it.
Well, man, I'm going to maintain that failure belongs in something I want to yell at. I want to hate.
Yep.
So I'm giving a very low participant.
Sure.
As opposed to my last one, which got a high participant, I'm giving this a low participant. There's nothing I actively get angry about. It's just completely ignorable. You could cut it out of a disc, no one would know.
Yeah.
And so to me, that's a participant. Something that is neither high, it's the MTV generation. We feel neither highs nor lows. And it's nothing. It just exists. You could delete this forever. No one would miss it.
Yeah.
But no one would be angry about its removal.
Fair enough. Putting it at a dull participant, I think, works
feels
for me.
Apt for me.
But I am angry enough out of it that I feel I'm justified calling it a failure.
And fair enough, it's one of those things I'm not going to fight you on, because I can understand why you would want to fail it. It's just flat and bland and kind of boring.
Yeah. Okay, well, that about does it for Mobile Homer. So now, keeping with the RV continuity, we are going back all the way to season 1.
Oh!
And we are watching The Call of the Simpsons.
I know the one, and I'm looking forward to it.
Oh! Jungle Man.
Bears. I still want a belt clip that is a big holster. It's all I want for Christmas.
All I want for Christmas
is a big holster.
We are back, and we just watched season 1, episode 7, The Call of the Simpsons,
yes,
aka the one where Homer gets an RV and takes the Simpsons on a wild wilderness holiday camping adventure. BT, what'd you think?
It's pretty good.
It's not bad.
It's not bad. I have a lot of mixed feelings on this one, actually.
Mixed feelings, hey?
Well, it's so quintessentially Simpsons, and yet it lacks a lot of jokes until the third act. Third act is full of jokes.
Yeah, so this is like almost a polar opposite of the problems we were having with the first episode, where they were kind of draggy through acts 1 and 2, but third it just brought it round, and there's so much material there. But not saying that the other acts are necessarily bad. It's just
they're not
slow.
as much fun.
No, it's a very slowly paced episode.
Well, first point we have to get out of, this is season 1. So for you and I both, I think, there was a real big shell shock of going through the opening scroll and being like, guy eating sandwich in the background instead of either Lenny and Carl or Mr. Burns in the background.
Yep.
What? Lisa with a blue saxophone, old. What?
And with a book holster on her bike?
Bart steals the bus sign, old. What?
This is so old.
Lisa is biking with a bunch of books, old. What?
And when they get to the couch gag is nothing. They sit down and watch the television.
They watch an orange fucking television.
An orange television. Yeah, the school's purple, the television's orange, the saxophone's blue.
Oh,
it's all over the fucking place, man.
Up is down, left is right, cats and dogs living together.
But having said that, it's not the wackiest of all the episodes.
No, it's just it's very strange after nearly 30 years of this to go back to the source, and it's a little off-putting occasionally.
Man, so
thank God we have beer.
So much nostalgia though for this episode. So anyway, starts out Bart's doing the mowing, and he's got a crappy mower versus the Flanders
mower.
nice mower, setting up the whole divide. With...
Again, why do you have a ride-on mower if you've got like a yard and a backyard? Come on, Flanders.
Yeah, right.
You would know better. Jesus.
Yeah,
but it's the have and the have-nots, and there's that great moment of, well, Flanders, I get your mail occasionally. You're going to make $27 more a month than me.
I love that line so much. But yeah, it starts up, plants the seeds for the envious divide between the Flanders and the Simpsons.
And this is OG Homer, who speaks more like this.
It's more of a Walter Matthau thing, so you're going for some frosty chocolate milkshakes.
Frosty chocolate milkshakes. Yeah, it's weird. It's weird.
So yeah, a bit unsettling. So anyway, after, the lawnmower thing and after seeing Flanders' new RV, with a satellite dish. Oh my God.
I know.
A satellite.
I mean, again, at the time, that was beyond cutting edge. Nowadays, that feels like, yeah, I got that shit on my phone.
Yeah, I know, right? And even like when they get to the RV place and they're looking at the behemoth, and it just it looks so dated.
Can I? And feel free to cut this. In fact, cut this.
Cut this shit.
The words land behemoth make no sense because behemoth, by technical definition, is a massive land creature. If you're talking about a sky creature, that's Ziz. If you're talking about a water creature, that's Leviathan. If you're talking about a land creature, that's Behemoth, according to ancient Hebrew text.
Now, given that, I'm guessing that's exactly what they were going for.
Possibly.
I
like to think original Simpsons knew exactly what they were doing, as this was like an ATM machine gag,
Yeah. So yeah, just on another note with the RV place, so we mentioned in the last episode that we really liked that they brought the character of Bob back. Now, I did do a quick bit of Googling while watching The Simpsons.
Oh.
And because Bob's voice sounded sort of semi-familiar to me. And yes, in this episode it was Albert Brooks. In the one we just watched, I think it was Carl Weinegott or something.
Doing Albert Brooks.
Yeah, because this had such an Albert Brooks tone, and especially like his way of improv. And you even noticed the animation on his voice sync was a bit off, and I think that's because
he was improving so hard they couldn't sync it up. I will say it's a hard episode to judge because the latter half is the third act is way wackier. The first half, all of your jokes come from, if you've ever been to a used car dealership and you're dealing with that, and that kind of really stereotypical but also really funny kind of.
There's color in your skin. You look Roman. You like a god or something. Come on, Zeus. Like, it just like that sleazy complimenting.
And that me and your dad are going to go in the office and talk this out and you're going to drive home in this thing. It's so well done. It's so funny to anyone adult who has bought a used car and knows that slime.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
It's such a good point. And
that it's that whole sort of Southern gentleman facade as well. Like his voice even reminded me a little bit of Walton Goggins.
I don't know who that is.
He's the other guy who Quentin Tarantino's 8 People in a Room movie.
The Hateful Eight.
Hateful Eight. Yeah. He's the not Samuel L. Jackson. You're shitting me?
You know I have issue with that movie.
That guy? And he's also the guy in Community as well. Can you believe it? He died filling up those flasks of semen.
You know what we should do now? Shots! Yeah. I know the guy from the reference. I think that was my major problem with this episode is that tonal shift. The first half, it's very adult in the sense that comedy comes from used car salesman and dealing with them yourself. And if you're a kid, this is boring as hell because just get the RV and do something fun. Come on. And
then even when they do get the RV leading up to the end of Act 1, it's just a couple of traffic gags, Homer taking a shortcut gag, not wanting to stop for directions.
Like, come on, it's all terrain.
I like the bit though with they're driving through the water and my feet are wet. I'm scared. We're all scared, honey.
For sure.
Yeah.
But then the third act.
And what's that odor?
What's that odor? We're playing What's That Odor? Dad's feet. You win, Bart. Bart.
And yeah, all set to the music of Valkyrie. Yeah, that one.
No,
I think that's public domain. I don't think we have to pay for that one.
I'm pretty sure that's fine.
Yeah,
the
yeah,
dude's
that's
been
fine.
dead for like 300 years.
With my knapsack on my back. Yeah, so then they do the whole, can we stop here? Yes! They're on the cliff face. I love the animation of this.
I personally love some classic cliff face gags. I mean, when we did Mr. Plow, I love that gag where he's teetering on the edge and he turns the radio dial.
Yep.
And
And in this one where it's just like, okay,
Everyone.
now we're slowly going to get out of the car.
and everyone's bailed already. It's very that to me is very Simpsons. The family doesn't give a fuck. It is just everyone is self-preservation.
But then after the car falls and it does the very Looney Tunes-esque little puff of smoke and explosion and stuff. Oh, it just looks beautiful.
It is. This is one of those ones that I mean, when we get to it, I'm going to have such a hard time rating because the beginning is so adult, but the end is so Looney Tunes. Yeah. I don't know how to feel about it.
Yeah, it's almost its spirit gets younger as it goes along.
Yeah, pretty much. And I mean, maybe that was the point. I mean, maybe the point was to hook an adult audience and then draw them back to that old days of Wile E. Coyote.
Well, yeah, because they're still experimenting at this stage of The Simpsons. And yeah, this is, like, from memory, one of the wackier storylines of season 1, because we're talking about the season that had the, Simpsons roasting on an open fire, the Homer's Odyssey one, which we've already covered, Krusty getting busted, Homer with that weird stripper thing.
Yeah, which is one I never see repeated on TV ever. Yeah,
it's actually weird. I revisited that. I'm not looking forward to that one. Anyway, so start of Act 2, that great gag with Maggie shivering, and they're like, "Someone calm her," and he's like, "Look, Maggie, birdies."
And they're
just circling.
I do love that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've got that.
So yeah, at this stage in the story, I like how, and we were saying it before with Marge Lisa storylines, what are there? And this was one of them where it was kind of cute.
So. They're like almost a C story, but they're they're surviving together while Bart and Homer go off and do ridiculous bullshit.
And I like how that they keep reinforcing that they're just improvising. They're just they're out of their element, but they've got a good nature, and everything's going to be fine.
It's a sensible woman with an intelligent girl, and they
build a shelter, make a fire, and organize the squirrels.
What's one thing I love about this episode is that they don't call major attention to those little quiet gags, like Marge organizing the squirrels according to, we don't really know, we're going to assume it's hype, maybe it's adorableness, we don't know. And I love that. I love they don't mention it, they just do it.
Yeah, a quiet gag. Yeah, absolutely. And so at this point, Homer and Bart go off to find, I don't know, civilization or food or something.
And I will quickly interject, before they separate, Lisa has a great line of, "Remember, Dad, the Big Dipper always points to the North Star." And Homer goes, "Lisa, we're in the wilderness, not astronomy class."
Yeah, already showing that two people who don't know what they're doing are already more qualified than Homer, who supposedly had experience.
Well, that is possibly my only problem, is they keep referring to Homer as an experienced woodsman.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, I guess at that time...
That's the thing. Early Simpsons, we don't know these characters yet. So maybe he is. We don't know. It's the fact that we've gone on to realize that he's not.
Yeah.
And as you and I were discussing off tape, he's an experienced musician. He's he's actually a really good musician. But woodsman, it never comes up again. So but again, season 1, they didn't know.
Yeah, maybe they
we have the power of hindsight.
Maybe they established it in the episode. I'm not sure, but I don't think they established the idea that he was an experienced woodsman well. Other than the fact that he's a man, and this did come out in the 80s. So,
but I kind of like that because, again, going back to The Simpsons coming out and being the antithesis of Father Knows Best, of the Brady Bunch, where the father was the central knows everything point, to be the antithesis of that and he's the one who knows the least, who fucks up the most, but that everyone assumes knows what he's doing. I kind of actually like that, as Being a man in this 21st century, I occasionally feel like people assume I know what I'm doing. I don't. I really, really don't.
Yeah, the random passerby will look at you on the street. Excuse me, what time did this bus come along? And you're like, what the fuck? Do I look like the bus knower-allerer?
It's like, lady, I'm wearing a goddamn Opeth shirt, so you'd leave me alone. Fuck. 11 to 17.
Anyway, so at this point in the story, yeah, Bart and Homer go off to whatever, and Maggie sort of tags along with them, but they don't notice, and I like how Marge and Lisa are like, oh, she'll be fine with them. And then it breaks into the whole Maggie and the Bears story. Now,
I do quite like that.
Let's just talk about that whole thing now where...
as a singular shell.
Yeah, because it's like, okay, the story is an A through line with the offshoots, so I think you do get an A, B, and C story because of Marge and Lisa.
It's a bigger offshoot.
Yeah.
It's not, I wouldn't call it a B plot, but it's a bigger offshoot.
But yeah, where she calms this bear by putting a pacifier in its mouth, and then the bear's like, hey, other bears, this one's all right. And then they start stealing things from other campsites, and especially that asshole who's like, hello, bears. You know, I really wanted the bear to swipe that dude.
Okay, so they do that all within, yeah, so did I. But they do this all within Maggie draining like one bottle of formula.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I have no personal experience, but hanging out with my nephew, who is the greatest human being on earth, I know that's fast. That's like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So they steal a lot of shit from him quickly.
You said formula there. I guess I never thought about it. It's either formula, cow's milk, which babies shouldn't have, or...
boob milk.
Wouldn't that be fucked up if Maggie was drinking the boob milk from that woman? The wife
A little bit, but hey, you know...
Did they have breast pumps back then?
Yes.
Yeah.
Elliot, people have been breastfeeding for a long time.
No, but breast
the
pumps
Simpsons.
to, harvest the milk and put it in bottles to...
I'm pretty sure they came up with that in 1642.
I'm sure that's a lie, but, I'm not going to correct you. Feel free to Twitter in.
Ooh.
Anyway, yeah, so, I mean, that about does it for the Maggie storyline. So, and yeah, I like that the whole Bart and Homer's hysteria was set off by hearing Maggie's sucking of the pacifier and like, rattlers! And then they run off and then fall down the cliff face, lose all their clothes.
The classic sound of, and I can tell you how to do this at home if you want to... Just your tongue and your lower lip.
I've got no problem with the word moist, but the reaction I get from the pacifier sound is
moist.
What I think, people feel when they hear the word moist.
Interesting. I will note that and taunt you with it.
Fuck you.
This is what friends are for, douchebag.
Oh, thanks, buddy. Yeah, and so Homer, upon falling down the waterfall, can't find Bart, and like... majestically poetic in this moment. Of all the fates of heaven and earth, why would this one befall me? And yeah, the whole, hey dad, you're naked. Jungle Man. Oh.
Yeah.
And yeah, I like the whole thing with them, first priority, covering up your shame.
That's
what got updated now?
DualShock 4 battery level low.
That's not a notification worthy of a ding.
No, Bioshock downloaded. That's what you should worry about. Play Bioshock.
I was actually thinking of getting a collection.
Bioshock.
But Red Dead's about to come out on PSN.
Play Red Dead.
So I'm going to play that because of the sequel coming out either
Play
next
Red
or
Dead.
the year after.
I'm just going to say, because once it comes out, that's all I'm going to talk about.
Red Dead 2?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, I feel like I've been behind on that one. Because I should have already played it. I mean, I am such a massive fan of the GTA series that...
Grand Theft Horse is a natural evolution.
Grand Theft Horso.
So good. Play it.
And yeah, I love the sequence with Bart and Homer and trapping the rabbit. This young sapling will do. And yeah. Grabs the rabbit, flings it.
I know. I love the trap turns into a catapult.
Yeah.
That is such a good bit. That is like a platinum moment in an otherwise not platinum.
And yeah, when he goes, all right, I'm going to make a lot of noise and flush out the rabbit. And when he comes out, you step on him. I remember the cadence of that line so well.
I think this is one of those episodes everyone knows so well. They can get that exact rhythm of the lines.
Absolutely.
Remember what your father, an experienced woodsman, has done.
Jungle Man. Oh.
Right, Dad.
Oh, and with the young sapling, here's a joke that I missed. What are we going to do with that? Hang ourselves?
I think I got that. It was just,
Yeah.
you don't think about suicide at this point.
So anyway, going into Act 3, Marge and Lisa, we've already established are fine. They built a shelter. They organised their squirrels. They started a fire. And then
But
Homer and
Homer-
Bart in that good night, Dad. So anyway, Act 3, start of the next day. Bart and Homer are hungry. Homer just punches a beehive looking for food, which starts up the awesome sequence of events that leads him into being mistaken for Bigfoot.
Yeah, I will say that's, in terms of jokes, where this episode takes off.
Yeah, absolutely. And unfortunately a bit too late, but I mean, at the perfect time. But the sequence starts with, Homer punching in the beehive, eating honey, getting bees in his mouth, getting stung, searching for water, jumping into a mud pit, getting himself covered in mud, filmed on tape.
Looking like Bigfoot.
And I love the whole media circus that jumps around this, and then they find Marge and Lisa in the woods, and then Marge is like, that's not Bigfoot, that's Homer.
And there's spinning newsreel, which, oh God, I love a good spinning newsreel joke. Woman marries Bigfoot.
But the great thing about this sequence is, and this is pre-internet times as well, where I guess they're making a commentary on how fast the media circus, how fast the media reporting happens.
Yeah.
And so it's, I married Bigfoot. His name is Homer. Another spinning thing going, what does he eat? I don't know, pork chops? And then it's
I know, true. It would be so much more poignant now.
Yeah.
But even then, to say the media will take nothing and turn it into the story of the year.
Yeah, absolutely.
I do love
the fact that this story preempted like a president's address or something, like a State of the Union or something.
Yeah, man, I got that note down. You've got pre-Kent Brockman, mind you.
Oh, this is Scott Christian.
Some random...
Kent Brockman was off tonight. Yeah, sorry, go on.
Scott Christian fucking on, he's going, he's talking about possible Bigfoot and says,
he goes, we'll now return you to the president's address, which is already in progress. Like... Which is, again, a very quiet gag itself.
It's a very adult, quiet gag.
See, the way that you would draw too much attention to it would be, okay, we now return you to the president's address, which is really important, and we decided to preempt it because this is way more interesting.
You would cut to that and be like, that's why we're going to invade Holland.
Yeah, exactly.
And, no.
Why would you invade Holland?
Flowers.
Yep, Homer president would definitely be in favor of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the bit where the assistant director is like, "Hey, no bears on set. We're recording
keeping
here."
all bears off the set.
And the bears are just like, "Oh, okay," just wander off. That's really good.
I do like Homer getting shot full of tranquilizers and just says,
"Oh yeah,
avenge me, son."
Avenge my death. And so from there, we're in the very last bit of the episode. It's a news report about, a bunch of scientists studying Homer and, like, feeding him a pork chop through a small little gap in his enclosure. And then a bunch of scientists debating on live television what he is. No, I think he is a man, but a very unevolved man.
Yeah. Oh, he is a brilliant beast.
Yeah. Just... the whole humiliating aspect of it and how wacky and far out it was that they'd mistake him for a missing link or whatever.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Time for the questionnaire, I reckon. Storyline. It was like pretty much a through line that had ABC offshoots with Marge, Lisa, Homer, Bart, Maggie, and the Bears.
Most def. Maggie and the Bears was the biggest offshoot we got, and it's,
that was so adorable, that whole thing.
It's so cute.
At the end where, the nice grizzlies, later grizzly dudes. I get that one stuck in my head. And, just her looking back, and then the one bear who's still got the pacifier that he gave her. Fuck that sound. Okay, if you could put this in a playlist, what would the theme be?
RV.
Yep, RV episodes. Unfortunately paired up with that one that we didn't really like.
Bears?
Even, like, Simpsons go-to, because...
Sorry, my favorite Cards Against Humanity card. Bees?
Episodes with bears, episodes with bees. The bees. Yeah. But yeah, Simpsons family core episodes, I guess.
I'm going to say, before we get to rank, this is my biggest problem with the episode. It is such a quintessentially Simpsons episode, but there is so little I like about it.
Yeah.
There's no heart. There's not a lot of jokes. It's going to get weird to ranking because, again, it is so... Everyone remembers watching this episode. Everyone knows this one. And yet, there is so little I like about it.
Interesting.
Which feels weird.
But did it feel like an episode of The Simpsons?
For the most part. I mean, again, when you're watching Simpsons in this era, they are the antithesis of the previous established sitcom. So that's why Homer is assuming he's in command while having no idea what's going on. That's why he is the experienced woodsman.
Yeah, he's trying to fool everybody, whereas...
later episodes would have him as the idiot.
Yeah. He would... he would be obvious in how incompetent he was, whereas this one, he was still able to get away with lying. I don't think any character's off point, and especially when they bring it to the whole Bigfoot thing, studying him, and, it's so weird and stuff, but the thing is, that's Homer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's later on when he's at the Frying Dutchman as I hear they shaved a gorilla. Just all you can eat seafood, and he is more beast than man.
Oh, and the food and beverage index. We haven't eaten yet, but tonight we have been drinking Asahi beer, which is light and crisp and delicious. Mm-hmm. I give it a gold.
It's a gold, yeah.
Yeah. Despite its silver label. And we have also been supplementing that with a bit of 1800 Añejo, which I give an undoubted cubic zirconia. It is some delicious tequila, but interestingly enough, with the 1800, I prefer the Reposado. I normally prefer Añejos over Reposados, but I think 1800 do a better Reposado.
He who makes a beast of himself gets rid of the pain of being a man. I forgot where I was going with that, but I like the point.
Homer and the Beast and the Bigfoot.
So he's rid himself of the man and yet has become the Beast. He's all gone back to nature, much like, of Wolf and Man, Metallica sang about. Shut up, let's move on.
All right. Do you have any memories about how this episode was a part of your life?
I mean, it comes back to, do you remember breathing for the first time? No.
Exactly.
It's a part.
Yeah, there's just parts of this episode which I know me and my family have quoted ad nauseum. I've got little glimpses of watching this episode when we had taped it on VHS tape and the little Channel 10 logo would flash up with whatever the saying was
I
at the
remember
time.
recording this to wax cylinder. Predating your fancy VHS bullshit.
I'd love it if, some college essay was, using this as source material and quoted you then. But
I would love
did you know that people used to record The Simpsons on wax cylinder?
I would love if anyone quoted me for anything.
Play count. How many times do you reckon you've watched this episode?
87.
Yeah, I'd say it'd be in the 40s for me, because I definitely watched it a bunch back in the early days when we had this on, recorded VHS, but I don't go to revisit season 1 or even 2 that much. I don't know that I've watched this episode in about 5 years, probably.
Yeah, it's one that, again, everyone knows, and yet there's not so much to love about it. Ranking is going to be weird for me for this one.
Any jokes that sort of went by you only noticed on this viewing? For me, it was the Bart with the tree sapling, and what are we going to do with that? Hang ourselves? For me, that's one joke that went over my head, but otherwise, not really.
See, for me, I understood suicide from the age of 2, so I get that.
Your poor life.
My realistic life.
Nah, not really for me. I don't think there's much subtle humor.
No, okay. I suppose you don't understand the bit with the RV retailer until you've dealt with...
Yeah.
Or even old enough to understand what it's like dealing with used car salesmen.
Actually, on that note, and even with the scientist describing how Homer is, maybe that'd go by your head, but I don't know.
I got enough. You get enough from context to know what's going on, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But mostly just the slick car smell is You see that guy over there? He said, save the little one from me, and now here he is. Are you going to buy it right now?
Yeah.
Because this is your last chance to walk out of here.
And when he looks toward, and then when Homer's like, oh, I should consult my family, and he's like, oh, well, I guess you could talk with those humans.
I did actually write that. I was like, those humans over there. Really? I thought you were a man. You're going to talk to those humans over there?
Just really playing to the ego. Yeah, that whole thing. Absolutely.
I feel like that would have gone over my head, but I would have picked it up between when I first saw this and now. So
yeah. Wackiness. So the wackiness only came in at the end. I guess with the Mackie and the Bears storyline, that was a little bit of wacky sort of story to keep you going, and then with the whole Bigfoot thing. But
mostly,
I don't think anything was to the detriment.
No, not at all.
I thought wackiness was all benefit. Actually, I haven't got much to say about that.
Neither do I. I mean, it's there, but again, nothing that's there is problematic or disruptive or a problem. It's just there.
Yeah, it all works.
It's kind of, again, the most wacky thing is, again, Maggie with the bears, and that's just the cutest stuff, and you want to let that go. It's fine.
And yeah, Homer just being mistaken for Bigfoot is a wacky concept, but in the way they sort of delve it out, like with the scientists hypothesizing, so much good material there. Heart, interesting.
No,
not really. Like, even heart between the family is only sort of felt between the Marge and the Lisa storyline, but it's not like that really goes anywhere either.
It's not heart, it's more surviving and even then there's a little bit Homer Bart, more a passing of knowledge, I suppose, but it doesn't feel like a thump.
No. So yes or no, would you watch this episode again?
Oh, totally.
I would absolutely watch this episode again. So let's rank this thing. Kick it off, BT. I don't know where I go.
Yeah, it's tough because it's so quintessentially Simpsons, and yet there are so much that isn't funny on it. There are so few jokes, and there are so few heart. So I'm at a Grilva at the moment, or a sold if you want to turn it that way.
Sold.
Yeah.
Yeah, where's the R coming from in Grilva?
From the Earl Silver.
Srilva?
Srilva. It's...
Actually,
it's
in
such a tough
saying that,
one.
yeah, okay, I know my ranking. I'm silvering it.
Yeah?
It is, we've used this phrase before, quintessential unessential.
Actually, yeah. That's the thing. If I was in JB Hi-Fi, sponsor us, and they had like the best Simpsons ever, and this episode wasn't on it, I'd be like, I wouldn't even notice.
No.
I wouldn't notice, and I wouldn't care. I think you're right. I think it's a silver. But the thing is, when you think of early Simpsons, you think of this episode, but there are so few jokes that land well. There's no real plot that drives anything. For some reason, this one just sticks out, and I don't know why, which is why it's so hard to slap a silver on it, knowing what else we've slapped silvers on.
Yeah, well, I mean, considering other things that have earned the silver ranking from us, The Departed, other things that have earned the silver ranking from us, The Departed, the Look Who's Coming to Criticize Dinner, like... Those ones are like later episodes that are still great, yet you're
500 Keys was silver, wasn't it?
500 Keys, our highest ranking HD episode so far.
And so I feel it's so tough because this feels like it should be. No, you're right. Sorry. No.
Silver?
Silver.
All right. It's not like Silver's a bad rank either. It's just an awkward
It's so silver. It's not shameful bronze.
Yeah, it's so silver. Because you're right. Like the beginning isn't joke heavy, and like it doesn't really come into its own until halfway through.
There are jokes in the first half, mostly from the car dealership, but it's just such an imbalance between that and the ending.
Yeah,
which is much more wacky, youth-oriented humor. I would say that disparity in balance is what I'm going to call it. And then go hate myself a little.
All right. Well, that about does it for this episode. Yeah, BT, thank you very much for joining me in the dank this evening.
It's cool you have beer. I've said that before, but it's true.
And
you are?
I am Elliot J. O'Neill.
No.
What am I doing?
I don't know.
I know what I'm not doing. Tapping out.
Boom. Thanks for checking out the Cindos Index. Please visit the website for other stuff we're talking about.
Thank you for checking out the Simpsons Index podcast. Don't forget to go to www.thesimpsonsindex.com for the spreadsheet and information about upcoming episodes. Dun honk. All I want for Christmas
is a big holster. Ladies and gentlemen, Elliot J. O'Neill is now going to close a door with a towel on it so it will not refract sound properly. Oh! Simpsons theme! We don't have property rights to do this. Oh, with more than 5 seconds, we're screwed. That was a parody song called The Impsons Findex.
And yeah, all set to the music of
Valkyrie.
Yeah, that one. No, I think that's public domain. I don't think we have to pay for that.
I'm pretty sure that's fine.
Yeah,
the dude's been dead for like 3 years.
With my knapsack on my back.
I'm giggling awesome.
Yeah, but sometimes I use this stuff for the outro remix thing.
I am drunk, so shut the fuck up.
Woo! Actually, yeah, definitely going to order some pizza after this.